Good morning, everybody. It's been a busy week up here in the clown show. It is very interesting what's going on, but thankfully, the week brought some good news for the state of Alabama. Early this week, I joined the rest of the Alabama delegation in a meeting with U.S. Air Force Secretary Mink and Commander of SpaceCom, Stephen Whiting, to discuss the ongoing move of bringing SpaceCom to Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville. We're all excited about that. They've got a solid plan. We're fired up about it. They're moving rapidly. After 4 long years of waiting around, this should have already been done. Because of the Democrats, they put a hold on it. But we need to get this done immediately, or as quick as we possibly can. It's exciting to see all this progress and bringing SpaceCom back to its rightful home in Alabama. And I'm very appreciative of city leadership of Huntsville. Mayor Battle was here in the meetings. We had a long talk in my office about the process. He's done an excellent job in preparing to bring SpaceCom back to Huntsville where it should be. As I've said before, bringing SpaceCom to Huntsville is good for not just Alabama, but national security, because the next war is probably going to be fought in space if we have one at all. We need to prepare to stop wars, especially from outer space. So I'm looking forward to having everything in place very soon. This week, we're also passed a funding bill here in Congress to keep most of the federal government open through September the 30th. While I don't support plunging ourselves further into debt, there were some good things in this bill, including funding our military, transportation systems, and Secretary Kennedy's effort to make America healthy again. It's very, very important. Ultimately, President Trump supported the bill, and the people of Alabama support President Trump. So that's the reason I voted for it. However, we're now staring down the barrel of another funding deadline because of the Democrats. They want to defund law enforcement and DHS, TSA, FEMA. This is all because Chuck Schumer and his woke cronies want to stop ICE from doing their jobs. And it's just amazing to me how you watch this unfold. The Democrats are ignoring 65% of Americans do not want to see the government shut down over these deranged anti-law enforcement agendas. 65%. I mean, they need to wake up and smell the roses here. So 65% of Americans want ICE operations to continue. And more than 78% of Americans support deporting illegals with a criminal record. So let's be clear on this. I will not support any bill the next 2 weeks that hinders our federal law enforcement in any way. Now more than ever, we have got huge problems in this country. We have to enforce the law and deport criminals. It's so important to save this country. Republicans control the White House, the Senate, the House. American people elected us to make America safe again. It's time we start acting like the governing party and stop caving to these radicals who want to undermine President Trump and the sovereignty of our country.
Thank you, Coach. With that, we will move to the question portion of today's call, beginning with David from WBRC.
Yes, Senator, I've noticed an uptick in reports from viewers and social media posts about ICE activity in the Birmingham area and surrounding Birmingham, and I'm wondering if you've been notified of any increase in operations.
No, we haven't. On the state level, the governor's office may have, but we have not up here. I've heard some comments, obviously the mayor from Irondale. Let me be clear on this. We are not going to fight our law enforcement officers. I don't care whether it's state, local, or federal. We are going to have law and order in the state of Alabama and across this country. That's President Trump's #1 goal, is to make it safe in this country again. And we're not safe in a lot of areas. Like it or not, federal law says that people who are here illegally should be deported. That's pretty simple. So if people, in our state, like the mayor from Irondale, want to fight against the federal government, he needs to understand, I am not on his side, and he's dead wrong. We can't do this. We all got to be together because, we depend on the federal government for a lot of things. And look what, you don't know what's getting ready to happen in Minneapolis, but I'm telling you one thing, things are getting ready to shut down when it comes to federal aid in Minnesota because of what they've done and how much they've cheated this country upwards of $20 billion. What could we do in Alabama with $20 billion? And it's all been flushed out to terrorist organizations or re-election campaigns for Democrats. So we're looking at a serious situation here. And again, you do not have a country if you don't have law and order. And it comes from every level of government. And so we will, in the state of Alabama, especially when I become governor, we will support federal law enforcement, 110%.
Austin with 1819 News.
Good morning, Coach. You just touched on it a little bit with referencing the Irondale mayor. But as the next governor of Alabama, what's your opinion on mayors and police departments who may not work with ICE, DHS to deport illegal aliens in their communities? And then the Irondale mayor was also even going so far as to say he was going to start hosting classes to show how to block ICE and agents and things of that nature. So what's your opinion on that?
Well, again, I know the Irondale mayor. I don't know where he's coming from on this. I mean, it's when you do stuff like and say stuff like this, you're going against the law. That's you're breaking the law when you do that. We're not going to have sanctuary cities. We're not going to bring in illegals to be hidden in our cities and neighborhoods. We are going to crack down on crime, and that's where it all starts. We're not going to bankrupt our state because when you bring these people in, you have to pay for their bills. They can't afford it because most of them are hiding out, and we're not going to do that. We're going to support the people and the citizens of the state of Alabama. That's where it starts. And if we can't do that, then we're not a state and we're not a country.
Brad with WPMI.
Good morning, Coach. I want to get your thoughts on the SAVE Act and Senator Schumer's comments that it's Jim Crow laws and blocking the advance of that act.
First of all, Jim Crow was created by Democrats, and the last time I looked, he's a Democrat. So all they do is they point fingers. The SAVE Act is one of the most important things that needs to be done for this country, and it protects the American citizen. And how does that happen? You have to have a fair voting system. And I can tell you right now, there's people up here that are in the House and the Senate that went through elections that were not fair. We all have seen the information that harvest balloting affected elections, shutting down polls, counting ballots behind the scenes, voting machines that were corrupt, illegal immigrants that were voting many, many times. We have to have photo ID. We have to have one-day voting. We have to have ballots that are done the right way, that are kept, stored where they can be recounted if need to be recounted. We don't need to mail out ballots other than people that have a legitimate excuse to vote early because they're not going to be around a voting booth. Just like we've always done it until the last few years when the Democrats started looking at this situation where they were losing their voting base. Here's the way I look at it. President Trump had a record amount of minorities vote for him this past year. He had a record amount. He had middle-class people that had voted Democrat before vote for him. So who's the new girlfriend for the Democratic Party? Their new girlfriend, who they're courting every day, is illegals. They know if they don't get illegals to vote, they're done. And we need to shut them down because they're not for this country. They're for a different America, a socialist America, communist America. We need to get back to moral Christian values in this country and do things the right way, get back to law and order. And the only way to do that is have people know that their borders are going to be shut down and they're going to be protected and they have a fair ballot and voting system. And their vote counts. And it's not hard to understand. But the Democrats, they look for every possible way to tweak the system to make it lean their way. Well, they've lost, but we have to get the SAVE Act done. And we've got Republicans up here that are just squirming around wondering, well, if I vote for this, I might lose my election. So be it. We're going to lose our country if we don't get the SAVE Act done because we will never have a conservative House, Senate, and White House again as a total group if we don't have that fair election.
Grayson with Yellowhammer News.
Hey, good morning, Coach. There's a lot of talk in Montgomery right now about a package of bills dealing with energy affordability that's going to be introduced in the state legislature. dealing with data centers and the makeup of the Public Service Commission. Are you aware of these ideas? Do you have any comment on them?
Yeah, Alabama's a prime location now for data centers. They bring in a lot of money. We've got the land, we've got the power, we got the water. Every state in the country is doing this. These centers provide, thousands of construction jobs, a lot of tax money to local communities. However, Alabama, the families in this state should not have to pay higher power bills because of big moves to take advantage of our resources. They need to be on the hook for their own power and eating that cost. They can build their own power plant, and President Trump has talked about that. There's a land rush happening in the United States right now. President Trump's tariffs, all these economic policies are bringing companies from all over the world back to United States of America. A lot of them in the Southeast were prime target, but we need to make sure we take care of the citizens in Alabama first. And as Jeff Peoples, who's the CEO of Alabama Power, said, they are not raising rates for 2 years. Now, if we can do things in our state by building, data centers and providing power for a lot of these new manufacturing plants coming in, we need to do it. But we do not need to raise the rates and charge the people of the state for putting in these power plants and pulling our data centers. So let's do it the right way, and we can do that. I know there's a lot of talk about that, but again, we need to build our base. We need to grow in the state of Alabama, but not on the backs of the people that are paying these high energy prices. And we need to make sure, as Jeff People said, we're going to freeze rates, and we're not going to raise them for 2 years.
Matthew with WSFA.
Just saw that the Alabama Republican Party dismissed the residency challenge made by McFeeters recently. Hoping to get your reaction and any comment on the fact that he says he's still planning on challenging in court.
He can do whatever he wants. I'm running hard. I feel great about where we're at and how we're doing it. I don't worry about anybody other than ourselves and what we're doing and how we're going to do it. I would have never gotten this race if I felt like that I had any kind of challenge coming at me. I didn't, there's no need for that. I'm coming back to the state. We'll be the governor in less than a year, and we're going to make Alabama greater. And we're starting that plan as we speak. But I've got a lot of work to do here on the federal side, but I don't listen to that nonsense coming from these people. They're looking for a headline, and headlines aren't going to win elections. Action's going to win elections. So I'm looking forward to doing whatever I need to do to win this election, and looking forward to putting a group together that's going to make Alabama one of the best states in the country.
Thank you, Coach. We will leave it there for today. Be on the lookout for the video package from us here shortly. Thank you so much for joining. Wish you guys a great rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon.